So hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 56 and in this video we are talking about a new keyword, and this keyword which we are going to learn is this enum. So enum stands for enumerator, and what does this enum allow for the programmer is you can define word values in curly braces and use them. So this is a new way for us programmer, to create a type. And we have not talked much about type in classes right now, but this is the start of creating something like that. Let me show you what I mean with that. First of all, we write this word enum, and then I write here a name. But important is this name, what I'm going to write is not a variable name. It is a type name, a class name. It's similar to a class. So let's write, I want to make a type with colors. Let's write here color. And then I have to specify what this color should be. So in my case, I open up this curly braces and then I write, for example, I want the color red, blue, black, white, orange, gray, green, and of course you can here go on and so on and so on. So important to understand now is that this what you created here is not a variable right now, it is a new type. And we talked about types a little bit, at least we used types. So we used this primitive type int, as you know, my number, and then we created a variable name, my number one, for example, and then I didn't set anything there. So the difference here is this one is called a declaration, which means it uses a type and then it creates a variable for this type, which means this variable is allowed only to put, for example, numbers in it and no words and no decimal points and so on. In this case, we created now this kind of type. And if we want now create a variable, we have to create like normal, like declaring a variable, but instead of int, of course, we use this name here, this color. So in my case, color, and then I say my favorite color, for example, color. And of course, I can assign it a default value. For example, let's say red. And now I have here a default value assigned. I used one of this created values. And that's why you want to use enumeration. You want to create your own defined values which you want used later in your program. But it is still not so clear, right? So it's still hard to imagine how this all works. Let's go on and make another example, but an example how we are using this one. So here I created something like a type, okay, and I created here these values. All right, that's perfect, and I can use these values, but where I can use this? Here I created this variable, okay, but how I use this variable now with this red? So we have to bring this in code. And a good place is, for example, what we learned already, a switch statement. Let's write again, switch. And in this switch statement we learned we write here a condition. In this condition I use this time my favorite color. So my favorite color. And why I'm using this my favorite color here is because this favorite color is also this color type, right? It can take one of these values here. And you see, this is the first time we use here a also programmer defined type. So one of these values it can take, and then like a normal switch statement, we open up the curly braces and write what it's needed. For example, in this case 1, we have to write a case. For example, here case, and then we write, for example, red. And this is because this, what we are going to write here is the value, and the values which this can take is defined here in color, and color is can take only these values here, right? It was, let me compare this again with this int. In our int example, was it when we write a int in a variable, we can only take in this variable name only values with numbers, and they was defined anywhere in the programming language itself, because this one is a primitive type and so on. So that one we repeat a little bit and then see. Let's continue with our switch statement here a little bit, and then I can, it depends on this case, I can put something out, for example, std cout, and I write here, you choose red color, right? That makes also sense. And then you can, of course, don't forget after this one, make a break if you want. Use this case. Of course, you can continue if you don't want this case. And let's continue with tomorph, I think. Let's copy this one fast here, paste, and this one also paste. And here I choose here blue, and here I choose black, and here I change just the number names, blue, and here I change it to black. So now with that said, we can, of course, you know, there is also a default of something, but this default you have not to set. Don't forget this one. This default case you don't have to set, which means I can just keep this because I don't use a default. But yeah, let's continue and test this code, what happens here. So you'll see what we created is you choose red color. Okay, it is working. So we created our own type, our own first, similar to these other things what were created. But careful, this enumerator color what we created is not a class. It is later searched like the class, for example, when we use the scope resolution operator soon, not in this video. But it is not a class, and that's very important. But the nice thing is it behaves like a class because we create something like ourselves as a programmer. And with that, I want to stop here because we have still talk about this enumerator a little bit more, because that what I created here is actually an old version, and it is not a safe version. What I mean with that, perhaps I say this also fast. This version, what we see here, and what we created here, are converted behind the scene in integer numbers. So with other words, instead of red, that sounds a little bit complicated, but it means just that behind the scenes, the compiler will do this here. It says it starts here with your list from 0, and then it puts here number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I write 4, of course, 4, 5, and 6. So behind the scene, the compiler will add this additional information to our names here, and this is considered to be bad, and that's why they developed another way to use this enumeration operator, and this one we talk in the next video, and I explain also why this is then bad. Okay, see you there. I hope all is clear. If not, you can ask questions in the comments and I try to answer them. And with that said, bye.